everyone, and welcome to another day of learning. I'm Roslyn R. Macabingil, a fourth-year BEd student from Negros Oriental State University, Shatun campus. For today's video, I will report about small group communication, a subtopic of Module 6, which is achieving communicative competence, various speech contexts. Let us first define and understand what is small group communication. Refers to the intercommunication among small number of people who communicate regularly to achieve a shared goal. It is also known as small discussion or team interaction and essential for group learning. This small group is generally formed to reach a common goal, which could be to solve a particular problem, make decisions, determine policies, and submit reports. Small group communication is divided into 6 different types, such as task-oriented groups, relational-oriented groups, primary groups, secondary groups, teams, and virtual teams. Task-oriented groups are formed to solve a problem, promote a cause, or generate ideas or for information. In such groups, like study group, interactions, and decisions are primarily evaluated based on the quality of final product or output. Task-oriented groups require hand problem-solving skills to accomplish goals, and the structure of these groups is more rigid than that of relational-oriented groups. Task-oriented groups are divided into 3 main types: the production, discussion, and problem-solving tasks. So let us first understand the production task. Production tasks are asked to produce something tangible from their group interactions, such as report, design for a playground, musical performance, or fundraiser event. So number 2, discussion tasks are asked to talk through something without trying to come up with a right or wrong answer. Number 3, problem-solving tasks. It is a task have to devise a course of action to meet a specific need. These groups are also usually include a production and discussion component, but the end goal isn't necessarily a tangible product or shared social reality to discussion. Instead, the end goal is a well thought out idea. So those are the 3 main types of task-oriented group. So now let's continue to our second types of small group communication, which is the second type of groups, is a relational-oriented groups, are formed to promote interpersonal connections and are more focused on quality interactions and contribute to the well-being of group members. Decision-making is directed at strengthening or repairing relationships rather than completing the discrete tasks or debating specific ideas or course of action. All groups include tasks and relational elements, so it's best to think of these orientations as 2 ends of a continuum rather than as mutually exclusive. For example, although a family unit works together daily to accomplish tasks like getting the kids ready for school, and friendship groups may plan a surprise party for one of the members. So their primary and most remaining interactions are still relational. So the third type of groups is a primary group, which consists of members engaged in an intimate relationship. In this sense, intimacy centers on the use of several interpersonal communicative behaviors such as self-disclosure, empathy, trust, and preserve understanding. So in a primary group, membership is based on sentiment. The example of a primary group are your family and your close circle of friends. The fourth type of groups is a secondary group, which are characterized by less frequent face-to-face interactions, less emotional and relational communication, and more task-related communication than primary groups. So while we are more likely to participate in secondary groups based on self-interest, our primary group interactions are often more reciprocal to other-oriented. For example, we may join groups because of shared interest or need. Another example of groups that meet the needs of individuals include study groups or support groups like weight loss group. So these groups are focused on individual needs, even though they meet as a group. And they are also often discussion-oriented. As we already learned, our groups are formed primarily to accomplish a task. Fifth type of groups is a teams, are task-oriented groups in which members are especially loyal and dedicated to the task and other group members. In professional and civic contexts, the word teams has become popularized as means of drawing on the positive connotations of term, connotations such as high-spirited, cooperative, and hardworking. Increasingly, small groups or teams are engaging in more virtual interactions. The sixth type of group is a virtual group, composed of members who work interdependently on a task but from different physical locations via communication technology. So some virtual groups may complete their task without ever being physically face-to-face. So virtual groups are now common in academic, professional, and personal contexts as classes meet entirely online, work teams interface using webinar or video conferencing programs, and people connect around shared interests in a variety of online settings. Now, let's proceed to advantages and disadvantages of small group communication. Every group communication is intended to achieve a common goal. Thus, group members communicate to achieve their individual and shared goals. However, every group discussion or communication has its advantages and disadvantages. So there are 6 advantages of small group communication. The first advantage of small group communication is a superior performance. Groups make better decisions, also solve problems, incredibly complex and unclear problems. So according to management professor Peter Sage, if you want something really creative done, you ask a team to do it, instead of sending one person off to do it on her own. Finally, groups share workload among group members. The second advantage of small group communication is a greater member satisfaction, social benefits, opportunity to make friends, socialize, receive peer support, and feel part of a unified and successful team or group. The more opportunities group members have to communicate with one another, the more satisfied they are with the group experience. The third advantage of small group communication is a greater civic engagement. You can apply theories, methods, and tools to better engage in service to community you learn in our group communication course. The fourth advantage of small group communication is more learning. A group provides many resources to work in a problem. Like, members can learn from also other members. They also learn more about how to work as a group in contrast just merely topics they discuss. It also helps in the decision-making process. It is the product of interacting individuals stimulating one another so that what emerges is a product that no one member could accomplish working alone. Additionally, it allows group members to share collective information, stimulate critical thinking, change assumptions, and raise achievement standards. The fifth advantage of small group communication is more creativity. The key to creativity is the mental flexibility required to mix thoughts from our experiences. Groups provide a creative multiplier effect by tapping more information, more brain power, and more insights. The sixth advantage of small group communication is enhanced cultural understanding. Members differ in characteristics, life experiences, cultures, interests, and attitudes. Therefore, group members get a chance to enhance their cultural understanding of others, working effectively. Understand, respect, and adapt differences in member skills, experience, opinions, behavior, and differences in gender, age, ethnicity, nationality, religion, race, status, and worldviews. Now, let's look at our 6 different small group communication disadvantages. They are as follows. Number 1, more time, energy, and resources. Number 2, conflict. Number 3, social loafing. Number 4, blaming for shared errors. Number 5, sleeping member. Number 6, scheduling. So let's have a look at the first disadvantage of small group communication. First, more time, energy, and resources, which is a group needs more time, energy, and resources to discuss issues and analyze and resolve problems. So in contrast, less time, energy, and resources are required when individual works alone. A group does not have a long attention span. Instead, it has a short attention span. However, a long attention span is an inevitable element to complete a task within the period. In group communication, they tend to get sidetracked. Similarly, topics that do not pertain to the discussion at hand may be brought up. Number 2, conflict. Disagreement aggressive, also disruptive. Members in a group often are confronted with an individual who wants to take over. Therefore, conflict exists in group communication. Number 3, social loafing refers to the idle activity of a person or group member who pays less effort than other members to achieve a goal. They work very well alone to complete their task but spend less effort working in a group. Therefore, sometimes social loafing stimulates to make a group less productive. Number 4, blaming for shared errors. A proverb says that to err is human. Errors come from personal and group activities. Therefore, it is essential to identify the root cause of errors and the person who creates them. Sometimes, group members do not acknowledge shared mistakes. Instead, they blame each other. Therefore, blaming for shared mistakes might increase conflict among group members that reduce productivity. Number 5, sleeping member. Sleeping members are always barriers to reducing production in small groups because they do not achieve the goal. Number 6, scheduling problem. Scheduling a group or team meeting is a great challenge that your group faces regularly. Usually, all group members are not available to join the meeting simultaneously for their business. Hence, it reduces the group productivity not for scheduling regular meetings among members. Therefore, scheduling group meetings is the essential element to increase group members' commitment. Characteristics of small group communication. The 3 characteristics of small group communication are group size, interdependence, and task. So let us first understand the group size. It must have minimum of 3 members and more than 15 members. Regardless of how many members a group comprises, it is important to consider that all members have an influence on each other. Number 2, interdependence. So the process by which a change in one part affects the other parts. In a small group, interdependence occurs when members coordinate their efforts to accomplish their task. When something happens to or affects one group member, it will impact the rest of the group member. That is, interdependence means that any group members' behavior influences both group members' task behaviors and their relational behaviors. 3. Task is defined as an activity in which no external correct decision exists and whose completion depends on member acceptance. Without a task, a group need not exist, often considered the purpose behind a group. Now, let's proceed to the importance of small group communication. All educators want to help their students succeed, but many struggle with the best ways to implement the forces into their curriculum. First, it's important to remember that the forces are addressed through the process of learning and not the lesson content, meaning today's instructors must look to adapt how they teach rather than what they teach. Second, there are educational approaches that can be applied to boost forces skills, such as small group learning, when compared to isolate or organized learning environments. Small group learning enables students to put their forces skills into action, allowing them to work together to achieve a common goal. What are forces does it mean? The forces are critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, and communication. So let us first define critical thinking. It refers to encourage curiosity. Critical thinking in the classroom, particularly in small groups, encourages curiosity. It gives students opportunities to challenge each other, explore new ideas, frame problems and solutions in different ways, practice effective reasoning, use better judgment and decision making, and improve problem-solving skills. Number 2, creativity is contagious. Why is creativity called contagious? Because in small groups, learning is to express creativity in healthy and productive ways motivates students to share that creativity with others, inspiring fellow students to think in their own unique ways. Number 3, collaboration refers to student-centered learning, balanced with teacher facilitation and encouragement. By creating an environment that enables student-centered learning balanced with teacher facilitation, and encouragement, students learn to listen to one another and collaborate to achieve something bigger as a group rather than as individuals. Number 4, communication. In small groups, students can more easily develop key communication skills, including active listening and how to read the room. It also helps improve informative, instructive, motivative, and persuasive communication capabilities. To sum it up, the small group communication was interactive, friendly, and bridged the gap between the teacher and student. The students' communication skills are also improved. In small group, communication is more effective than the traditional teaching methods. With the purpose of introducing you to a small group communication, this report provided the advantages and disadvantages of working a small group, defined small group communication, identified and explained the different types of small group associated with the characteristics of small group communication, explored the importance of groups which you can belong. That could be all. Thank you and God bless us all.